Commerce versus art. The artistic way versus commerce. It's not that one is better or more valuable than the other. It's just that they're two different things in the way they're created. In the way they're created. Like if you look at artwork, like if you look at an artist's artwork, they form it as they go. And depending on the artist, on what they're doing, most of them, a lot of them, they don't really know what it's going to be when it's done. They just start doing it, and it turns out awesome somehow. Hopefully, maybe not all the time. Commerce is products. And what I believe, if a person spends several years trying to get into commerce and trying to make that work, and they get miserable, stay miserable, and they're actually making good headway, and they see that they can make it work if they just keep trying every day, hustle and grind. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's really not. If that's what floats your boat. And then there's art. There's art in the way of creation, of, in my case in particular, writing, and the way I write, and the way I flesh things out, and the way the ideas manifest. Just keep shaping them and shaping them and shaping them and reshaping them and redesigning them, and give it some loose guidelines to go by. To me, the way I'm living my life now, and have been this past few years and a little bit before, from 2017, the end of 2017, when I had that revelation, September 15th, approximately, 2017. Then 18, 19, and 20. Those 3 years were very rigid. And yeah, it was a lot of hustle and grind. And doing a lot of things out of ego. Very miserable way to be. Looks very fine-tuned on the outside. Looks great, all that hustle and hustle, hustle, hustle. However, that's fine if a person chooses that. But at this point, looking at it from what I'm seeing now, I honestly believe, you ever be driving down the road and there's somebody passing everybody and they're just kind of like being reckless and they're in a hurry and they're just passing everybody. And then it ain't but just several minutes up the road, you meet them at the stoplight. You arrive at the same place at the same time. That's how I feel about the hustle and grind culture. Now, however, I don't believe that when it comes to like athletics, anything pertaining to athletics. Yeah, that's hustle and grind. That's the only place I think it fits. Now, when it comes to other stuff, I'm just not seeing it. You know, somebody could probably prove me wrong, and I'm sure they can. But I honestly think if a person's going to make some genius, it could take a lot of different tries. And it's not necessarily so much as so much hustle, 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 but yeah, consistency, consistency, consistency. For example, it was September 15th, 2017, the end of 2017. That year and that year before, I'd had several family members die. Ugly deaths. Ugly. And of course, at that time, I was at another, what they call a debacle or whatever, alcoholism, drugs, and stuff like that, and in a toxic relationship. Sickening. Anyways, once again, I found my life a complete train wreck again, and I was living in this, used to be an old church outside of Decatur, out on Milliken Farms, little old building out there, mattress on the floor just outside of town, Decatur. Didn't have no money, no job, no nothing, no car, nothing. Luckily, I had my oldest daughter and my granddaughter coming in to bring me food. But anyways, to make a long story short, I had snapped at that time. I had really snapped. I had snapped in a way that I've never snapped before. And I was just completely flabbergasted about life, my life, and life in general. From what I'd seen throughout life, what I'd seen of so-called justice throughout my life, and holding to what I thought was right and wrong, which of course, now that I see what I see, I know that I was in a type of delusion, not seeing the whole truth, not seeing myself. But this is what I had found. From 2017 to 2022, 21, with all that serious soul searching, it was September of 2017 when I finally snapped. I was faced with two serious decisions, and I needed to fully commit to one of them, and I knew it. Here's what it was. I need to either figure out how to live life and live it relatively successful, or I need to figure out how to die and get on with that and make that happen quickly. And you would think I would have made that decision quickly, but it took me a whole day and a whole night of basically, I guess you could call it a prayer, but it was basically cussing God all day and all night. I think I was trying to get a charge out of God or something, some kind of response. And I remember at the end of that night, as I was crashing, those people that know the drug world, crashing, that means you hit the end of your opiates or your drugs or your meth or whatever, your alcohol, you're done. You're crashing. You're out. You're going to sleep. But I remember I was stomping around that old church building, that old shack out there. And I was stomping around in there, cussing God, cussing life. And I was just going into this crazy psycho fit of, oh, I'm so glad everything always works out better than what I thought. And I just kept repeating that over and over and over. And I was saying it in a very sarcastic, hateful way. The crazy thing is, I was still saying that when I was falling asleep. Some of the last things I was saying as I was falling asleep. But anyways, I made a full decision that I was going to figure out how to live no matter what, and live my life however long that was, and to do it relatively successful, whatever that means. And for that whole week, that whole month, every day I had the pen and paper writing out what I thought success might be in so many different ways, and just reaching for all the motivational videos I could find on YouTube, everything, and just loading up on it every day. And you know what? I still do that stuff. I'm still using all that motivational stuff every day. It's all dinging around in my head. But anyways, now that we painted that picture and took the long way around that road, let's look at one of the main problems. Love, the love issue. I'd started that research about that. Those were all my side notes. And my angle to success was I was going to get some utility patents patented and make money that way. And as 2018 progressed, I went hot and heavy into that, and actually got ripped off quite a bit, learning the hard way. And then when I did find a real patent attorney, that I actually went to his place and seen that he was very real, and learned the ins and outs of the game, and paid good money to learn the ins and outs of the game, I realized you gotta have a little bit of backing too. You gotta have some money. That's a big boy's game there, and it's a long game. It's something that takes years, several years. It's not something you just jump in and bam, there it is. You might be able to do it something with a couple of years. But anyways, case in point, getting off track. To look back at all those times from then into now, I decided I would just start writing, because I'd had years of writing in the journal, something I did that I've just kind of kept on the back burner, not really used it for nothing other than my own personal thing. Thought, well, shoot, I'll self-publish some stuff that looks like a quick, easy way to make a little extra money, and that'll help me to fund my patent projects. Well, I started writing and writing and writing, and of course I got ripped off getting into the publishing game, got ripped off there too. It's amazing how life does that to you. I think it's what they call the ignorant tax. You got to pay the ignorant tax if you want to pass through the gate to become great. Anyways, I kind of fell in love with this writing thing. My very first book, well, I'd written, I think it was 6 or 7 manuscripts all together in a very short time, in just a matter of 2 years. And it was a pretty decent story. The first one was a very odd book, and that actually did get published. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. But the other books, I did not get them published. They were fully completed manuscripts. There was Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and the skeleton of Volume 4 and 5, and then the 365-day devotional completed. Okay, well, I was going to do those, bang, 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 get them up on Amazon, make lots of money from that, take the money from that, and fund my ideas for my utility patents. But as it went along, I did not have the cigarette addiction taken care of. Although that was one of my goals that I wrote down in 2017. That was part of my resolution to figure out how to live life successfully, because at that time I had smoked for 30 years. And it took 3 more years after that. It was like 2020. But anyways, the alcohol, my emotional immaturities and emotional disorders, and the mental disorders, and the whatever orders, I couldn't rise above them. I was using it as a crutch. I thought I was stuck. And the reason I thought I was stuck, because I decided, well, it's like if I'm stuck with emotional disorders and my brain doesn't function right and probably never will, even if I am sober, then why be sober? So that's what I was dealing with. And I figured, well, I'll just live life and try to be as a decent person as possible, and try to have a good as possible attitude towards life, and be as much as responsible as possible. But it wasn't working. Alcohol just kept kicking my ass. And then the other stuff kept coming back into my life too. It kept worming its way back in. Anyways, to make a long story short, once I got to this certain place and I could see a few things. One thing was, I had a theory. It's like, okay, let me try to describe this without messing it up or making it confusing. Okay, you know what a bonsai tree is, right? It's like a little bitty stunted tree. Okay, nowadays in the cannabis industry, these growers, and of course I was a grower also, will deliberately mess up the seedling stage of a cannabis marijuana plant, deliberately mess up the germination stage and the seedling stage and the starter stage, and then voila, it becomes a stunted plant, but it'll still fully bloom, and it looks like a little tree. Okay, now having said that, the way my mind and my emotions, once I learned about what was really causing failure in my mind, and started learning about abandonment issues and post-traumatic stress disorders and stuff like that, and come to the conclusion that they can only be ironed out to a certain degree, which was not a degree enough for me to make it worthwhile to be sober. But anyways, one of these little bonsai plants that I had a couple of them that I was experimenting with, and I thought, and I kept detailed notes on these things, feeding patterns and stuff like that, along with some other hydroponic plants and some other projects I had going on. But anyways, I got the gumption of wondering if that plant would actually grow, because I'd stumbled across some other research where these people successfully took some roots from a healthier plant and some other roots that weren't even cannabis roots, and basically grafted them together and made these stunted plants actually grow up. And I tried this little thing, put it in a bigger container, and tried this root. I guess you could call it a root transplant, or root putting new roots on it. I don't even know what you'd call it now. But anyways, that plant grew up. It wasn't stuck immature like that. It wasn't stuck being small. It wasn't stuck being stunted. It actually grew. And I had the revelation that it's like, well, if that can happen, then that can happen in the human psyche too. The human psyche just needs new roots, so to speak. So some new roots added to its soil it's grasping of the mind. Because here's the thing, our minds in our early years, from the baby stage to the toddler stage to the early childhood stage, that's just like those pot plants, those pot seeds. The germination stage, the starter stage. When those things are messed up, it stunts the plant. And that's what happens to people also. When children are brought up like in a toxic household and they don't get the right psychological, emotional nutrition, they become stunted. And they become emotionally immature. So, anyways, I'd had the revelation and I decided that I was going to start anew and go full on in a way that I never have. And that was a little over 2 years ago. And I can honestly say, a person can reconstruct their life. I am a person who was actually homeless at one point for about 3 years, in between, I think, 2019 to about 2003. So about 3 years, 4 years. I think I'd actually ate out of the trash one time. And I know what it's like to be one of those dirty people that never takes baths. They're only drunk and high, living in the tent, hiding in the woods at the edge of town kind of person. I've been that person before. I know what it's like to be that far down the scale. I know how degrading it is. I know how hopeless it is. But even then, at that point, I was so delusional in my highs and drunks. I think it was that last year of that homelessness. I went that entire summer, never even took a bath once. I don't even think I changed my clothes, not even once. And of course, when you see homeless people out on the street or whatever, when you're going through some bigger city or something or like that, and you see homeless people like that, and you can tell they've been wearing the same clothes all year long, you would never imagine to yourself in your entire life that you could be one of those people and that you will be one of those people. Anyways, back to the story of what love is. My perceptions of what love, what I was told it is, was wrong, was all wrong. It was the end of 2022, that last full moon. I literally came to that point in life to where I took all the journals that I'd collected throughout the years, all my writings, because I looked at all my journals and I really surveyed myself and looked at all those years and all that journaling. Even in my journaling, I was doing what I thought other people wanted me to do. None of it was honest, being from my honest perspective, my honest wants, my honest needs, or my honest opinion. None of it. It was all theirs. So I took all those journals, page by page, tore them all out. I'd had a Bible that I'd carried since I was a young man, all those years. I think that Bible was 30-something years old. Had a lot of highlights in it. Took it with me everywhere. It's probably the only thing I've carried throughout the years. I took it apart, page by page, along with my entire life's pictures, family pictures, everything. Everything. I took everything. And I took it out under the full moon, and I prayed to the spirit of the universe or God or whoever. And I did the best I could to let go of it all in a good way. Not in a hateful way, not in a vengeful way, but in a way, as in a way of saying, hey, I need to be reborn, so to speak. because this is not working. And I lit that stuff on fire. And it was a big fire under that full moon of 2022 in December. And it was a beautiful fire. It was a beautiful night. It was a clear night. Just thousands of stars out under the Benton County skies of Arkansas. Full moon, bright as could be. It was just surreal. It was surreal. Anyways, fast forward 2 years now. It's like my mind is clear. I'm 4 years cigarette free, tobacco free. I got rid of the tobacco before I actually got rid of the alcohol. Alcohol free, everything, all of that. And I'm hoping I didn't do long-term damage, which there probably will be. A person doesn't do years and years and years of something and just stop and then just come out unscathed. Possible, yes, but not likely. But according to my doctors, I'm pretty healthy in that I have came out unscathed, so to speak. Anyways, let's wrap this up in 3 minutes flat. Hang on. Check this out. The Book of Life, Volume 1, starting to begin. These books right here. This is actually 3 of the same book, but in the back has a little bit of questioning to ask yourself. And I don't recommend anybody really buy these books because they're just too off the wall. But for me, I answered my own questions because these are little stories and snippets about my life all the way from childhood up. What I perceive to be the psychological pressure points or the turning points, or could have been turning points. But anyways, in the back, there's questions about love that I answered. This one, that was in 2021 when I wrote those things out. Of the kind of man I wanted to be, the kind of psyche I wanted to be, the kind of persona I wanted to be. I wrote all that out. That was 2021. Fast forward to adjust to see October 8th on the full moon 2022. I had written some more things out. And there's little notes to myself about some of those things that I've written that I wanted to be in my character as actually came to pass, and I've actually cultivated my heart and my mind to be those things. Fast forward some more. And this is the most recent one. This is 2024. And I did another analysis of myself. 2024. And these writings, these are suggested writings, these are 12 days. 12 days, 1 day each. So anyways, I look at that stuff and I can see that a person can basically, I don't even know how to word it, you can basically kill yourself and live again without killing yourself. So, but kill your mind and live again. And then as these came out, then this writing came out. What I see, what I believe. This is the True Love Papers, Volume 1. I've got Volume 2 done. The rule is 44-page books, or at least 44 pages, even if there's going to be several blank pages in the back. But the thing is to keep them short, simple, little book, plain English, little coffee table book that somebody could read quickly. Like this book right here, even if you're a terrible reader, it shouldn't even take you 30 minutes to read that whole thing from start to finish. Anyways, the other one, Volume 2, I do believe it's going to be Volume 2, is Trust Building and Trust Repair. And then, of course, Volume 3, that's up to be finished this year, and that is Self-Reconciliation. And those are going to be the 3 staples of it. And then after that, I'm not sure where it's going to go. And it still could turn out a little bit different. But anyways, this, what I perceive, like to me, love is like love will, does, and can address the wrongs that happen and work to correct them. Not make excuses, not flip it around on you, not sweep stuff under the carpet, not punishing you for having wants or needs. Anyways, it's a long day in school. And today's CTA, call to action, is just have a nice day and see you in the funny papers.